This is my Mac Mini M1. I have been using it for a long time. It comes with a 1 gigabit Ethernet port. I need 10 gigabit. So I purchased two different adapters. They are very similar, Thunderbolt to 10 gigabit RJ45. If you are interested, I had a video in my channel talking about Mac Studio 10 gigabit port compared with these two adapters. If you are interested, check my channel. These two adapters work fine. They are super fast, but there are some disadvantages using adapters. They need additional desk space, extra cable management, and they are more expensive than the built-in 10 gigabit port. So when Apple released the Mac Mini M2, I ordered the M2 Pro version plus customizing on the RJ45 part. It has the built-in 10 gigabit one. In this video, let me focus on the network performance testing of this particular network part. The most important thing that determines the speed or quality of a network interface card is the chip. Here I'm showing you the system information for the Mac Mini. Under Ethernet, you can see there's only one chip. Apple call it Apple AQC113, but in fact AQC is from Aquantia. AQC113 is exactly the same one as Mac Studio, which I tested last year. So I don't expect any performance difference. In this video, I'm going to use this topology. I use 3 switches in this testing. The middle one is in the server room. It's an aggregation switch. My Mac Mini is in one room connected to the server room using fiber. And my NAS is in the third room. The corresponding switch is connected to the server room using fiber as well. And to test the pure network performance, I'm going to use a Linux virtual machine. To test the real-world file read and write performance, I'm going to use a Synology NAS. And in the end of the video, I'm also going to briefly mention the power consumption. Okay, let's dig into it. Let me first use iPerf3 to test the network performance. By the way, I already made sure in the complete network path from the Mac Mini to the NAS in every device, I already enabled Jumbo Frame. You may know Jumbo Frame has great impact to the network performance, especially if we are talking about 10 gigabit network. I won't spend time on the Jumbo Frame topic. If you are interested, check my dedicated video. In the lower part of the screen, you can see the Linux desktop. Let me first check the IP address for the Linux box. It's .2.101. I simply run iPerf3 server. And to monitor the network performance, let me also run system monitor. Now it's pretty idle, nothing's happening. Then go to Mac Mini. First, I simply run iPerf3 in client mode against the Linux machine's IP address. And to make it run for a long time, specify the -t parameter. Let me run it. About 9.7, 9.8 gigabits per second. Pretty good, not super stable. It's fluctuating a little bit. Kill it. You may know by default, it will only test the sending direction, or from client perspective, we are talking about uploading speed. So for uploading, we already saw the speed. Now let me test the download speed. I specify R, which means receive. Okay, you can tell from the Linux side, it's a little bit faster than upload and it's much more stable, very close to 10 gigabits. It's about 9.9 gigabits per second. So the download speed is pretty good. This time, let me use the -- by dir parameter, which means I want to test the upload and download speed at the same time. You can tell from the server side graph, upload speed is not very stable. When it's fast, it's close to 10 gigabits, but it's more about 7 gigabits only. This is a little bit disappointing, but normally I would suspect the cable quality. But remember, we just tested the upload speed independently. It's close to 10 gigabits, right? So I don't think it's due to cable issues. Just to add more burden, let me add another parameter. I want to use 10 parallel threads. Okay, this time the upload speed is much more stabler and it's about 8 gigabits all the time. So not too bad, even though I still expect a very stable 10 gigabits. It's not perfect, but that's the best I can get in my testing environment. Move on to file read and write speed testing. I'm going to use the Blackmagic disk speed test tool. I already selected the shared folder on Synology NAS. In the setting, there's an important parameter to specify the sizes used in the testing. The choice of different values is depending on the cache of the drive, but because here we are talking about the NAS, not on the local machine, so it will be a little bit complicated because you may know for Synology NAS you can use SSD cache just to purely test the NAS speed without using SSD cache. I already disabled the setting in my Synology NAS. Let me start with 1 GB, start testing. Okay, 6 gigabits. Not too bad, but not perfect. For read, that's perfect 10 gigabits speed. For both read and write, it's very stable, but for write, performance is not close to the network bandwidth upper limit. That's understandable because the speed is mainly determined by the NAS performance instead of the network. Let me test the 5 gigabytes. Okay, for write, it's almost the same, but you see, it just stop here, and then when it close to finish, speed will drop to under 4 gigabits. For read, I don't see the same problem. And for write, a similar thing. It was 7 gigabits, then drop to about 4 gigabits. Of course, there are a lot of factors can cause this type of symptom. I don't think this type of symptom has anything to do with the 10 gigabits network. It's more about how it works in the NAS. Because of the inconsistent write testing, I decide to do one more test by copying a big file from the Mac Mini to the NAS. It will be more real-world type of testing. First, generate a huge file in Mac Mini. I simply run the makefile command. It will be 100 gigabytes. This is the file name. It's done. Then copy the file to the shared folder on the NAS. In the lower part of the screen, I already showed the resource monitor from the NAS. Copy the file to the target folder. And here I want to measure the time, right? So I simply use time command to run it. It will take a long time. From the NAS, you can see the initial speed. Not too bad. It's about 600 something. And let it run. The file copy is done. The total time used is close to 3 minutes. Let's get the exact file size. The size is here. Let me copy it. Here is how I'm going to calculate the speed. Basically, I will use this file size times 8 to get the bit, then divided by the seconds. And then I will use BC, which is another command tool in macOS, to do the calculation. This is the exact speed. So as you can see, it's 4.8, 4.9 gigabits per second, close to 5 gigabits. That's the real world speed. I'm happy already. Of course, I don't expect 10 gigabits write speed in real world file copy. 5 gigabits is good enough. In the end of the video, let's talk about the power consumption a little bit. So now the 10 gigabit RJ45 part is in a idle mode. You can see the current system power consumption is about 12 watt. I don't see a dedicated temperature sensor for the RJ45 part, but the highest one is the ambient sensor. It's about 113 Fahrenheit, and the motherboard is 110 Fahrenheit. And let me kick off the iPerf3 testing in both download and upload direction. Let's see how the power consumption and the temperature will be impacted. Now the Ethernet part is super busy. If we check the power consumption, I can see at least 10 watt more. Interestingly, just the RJ45 part will use almost the same power as all the other part of the Mac Mini. That's a surprise. When it comes to temperature, the ambient sensor reports about 1 or 2 degrees more. Not huge change in the temperature, but the power consumption is almost doubled. That's something you may want to consider. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.